So I recently went to go see that new Five Nights at Frederick's movie that all the kids are raving about. And I have some shit to say about it. I'm gonna go see this movie in theaters, and from the moment that it was announced, I was a little disappointed. Because Scott himself said that this is not a lore-heavy movie. And you know what? That's okay, because I don't want to go into this with a negative attitude, and I didn't. I went into this movie expecting nothing. And now, just like many of my fellow Generation Zs, I was but a mere child when these games came out. The first game came out when I was in 4th grade. Holy shit. You can probably figure out how old I am from that statement, but I digress. I was heavily into it as a kid. Since the first game came out, I was into that fucking lore like a fucking jackrabbits. Then the second game came out, and I had some theories of my own this time, and then it just went on and on and on, and on, you get the drill. I was pretty much obsessed. I had a hyperfixation for this game, and to this day, I'll see a lore video on YouTube, and I'll click on that bitch, and enjoy the fuck out of it. So, I'm a seasoned Fnaf veteran, but yeah, I haven't been into it super recently. I haven't been as into it recently, but I still keep up with it as a fan. And this movie was something that fans were waiting for so long. We were waiting for this forever. And is it good? Well, we'll see. So essentially, this movie is about our main man, Mike. And he loses his job for beating the ever-living shit out of this guy on the clock. And he's losing custody of his little sister to his piece of shit aunt. So he picks up a job at Frederick's. He also has a lot of trauma, and he's trying to figure out who took his brother by putting himself in the same dream every night. Eventually, he finds out the person who kidnapped his brother was, spoilers, William Afton, so who would have seen that coming, And, a lot of reviewers dog on this movie for having too much story and not as many scares as the iconic games do. And I don't mind the story, or I wouldn't mind the story if it was good. Now, the concept of Mike trying to find his brother's kidnapper is cool, and he does it by entering the same dream every single night, which is the day his brother was kidnapped. And he thinks that deep inside his memory, he saw who his brother's kidnapper was, and that he just repressed it and stuffed it deep, deep, deep down inside his memory bank. It's a cool idea, but I'm not sure that it flows too well. It's kind of staticky and doesn't progress as naturally as the movie should. It's a great idea with an awkward execution, but I don't mind it that much. It's cool. Now, the custody of Abby plot is where shit gets weird, because this plot makes no damn sense. So basically, Mike is trying to get custody of his sister, so his crazy aunt won't raise her. She says she only wants Abby for the money from the government, but she's already pretty well off, like very well off, and it's not like she'd be getting millions of dollars, but anyways. So he begins working at Freddy's, and his aunt tries to sabotage him. She tries to make him look irresponsible by sending a group of teenagers to trash Freddy's and utterly fuck it up so Mike will get blamed for it. And they end up trashing the place and getting murdered by the animatronics. And Mike does indeed get blamed, but the thing is, it doesn't make any goddamn sense. First of all, they decide to go when Mike isn't scheduled, which is like, cool, whatever, but it would never be his fault since he wasn't working security. And even if he did get blamed, which he did, it would be more obvious to blame him while he's on the fucking clock. They just sneak in during the day and trash the place while he's gone. And Vanessa still blames him? She's the officer who periodically checks on Freddy's, but she blames him even though he wasn't even on the clock. And she saw him lock up the place. She arrived as soon as he was leaving. He was literally like, I'm so serious. He was literally locking up the doors. And even if no one believes him, they literally have security cameras outside and inside the building showing that he was not present when they broke in. Not only that, but Mike being quote-unquote irresponsible has zero effect on the story whatsoever. It doesn't create any tension at all between him and the aunts, and to be honest, she just kind of forgotten about until the very end of the movie. And also, they just never brought up the fact that like 5 people died. Not Mike, not Vanessa, not even the aunt. They're not reported missing. There's no news, no nothing. This plot just goes nowhere. After the people are killed, it's forgotten for the longest time until the very end of the movie, when the aunt has to babysit Abby, and she literally just gets killed by Freddy. Golden Freddy. You can fact check me on that if you'd like. I'm not too sure. I'm not an expert. And she's just forgotten about. She just dies in Mike's house, and they don't address what happened to the body or anything. It's just wrapped up. And Vanessa's also a very strange character. Some people say that this movie feels like it's missing scenes, and I kind of agree. Vanessa just goes from loving Freddy's and talking about how great it is, literally dick riding this place. She talks about it like it's Disneyland, and suddenly she just becomes extremely hostile to the idea of even being there for no reason at all. It's so strange. It's a very jarring switch up, and I don't know, she was just very strange this whole movie. And William Afton was also really weird in this movie. It's not that I had a problem with him, it was just weird because it's more of a personal thing. So apparently before the movie even came out, everyone knew Matthew Lillard was going to be William Afton, but I didn't know that. I only knew he was going to be in the movie. I didn't know who he was going to be playing. So going in with that knowledge, I thought it was supposed to be a twist reveal, and as a twist, it's horrible, terribly written. He's barely in the movie other than the first few scenes, and then he just shows up during the end. He has mere minutes of screen time. William Afton, Purple Guy, Springtrap, the main villain of the whole series, has mere minutes of screen time. And okay, I don't think it's supposed to be a twist, but even as a regular villain, he's still super weak. This movie was just a little strange, and you know, I've been going on and on and on and on about things I didn't like, and I'd like to end this on a positive note. This movie did have a lot of shit that I liked. I don't want to keep fucking dogging on this movie, because you know what? I did thoroughly enjoy it. Now let's just take a moment to calm down, because I've been dogging on this movie a lot, and I feel bad, because there's a lot of shit that I really do like about this movie, and I love this franchise. All of the horror scenes, all of the kills, all that shit was amazing. It was so much fun, and I had a fucking blast with all of these scenes. They were so perfectly executed, and it's just so cool to finally see them on the big screen, my boys. These animatronics I've essentially grown up with are finally in a movie, and that's just so cool. Irregardless of the writing, Matthew Lillard as William Afton was fucking awesome. Matthew Lillard, if you know, is extremely expressive, and I think his acting style was perfect for William Afton. And again, aside from the writing, I was super fucking hyped to see my boy Will in the suit. Such a big fucking moment, such an amazing moment. Literally everyone in my theater cheered at that moment, and it was so euphoric. And guess what? It had the scene, it has the spring lock scene that everybody wanted, and I'm not gonna lie, I never thought I'd say this about a man dying right before my eyes, but God, oh my God, what a beautiful sight. And they played the Living Tombstone at the end, and it was such a perfect ending. What a great fucking song to end it on. It's so iconic, and it might as well be the Five Nights at Freddy's theme. I'd compare the feeling of watching this movie to being a little kid and seeing the early stages of the MCU, back when it was still sort of a small niche and these movies were generally looked down upon by the public. These characters I'd only previously seen in games, shows, or in comics are finally on the big screen before the first Avengers movie even came out, and my brother would take me to see Iron Man, Captain America, Hulk, all these movies, and to see these characters on the big screen was such a huge revelation for me, and I felt the same with this movie. This movie just made me feel like a kid, and it was so much fun. And I will also say that this movie is extremely well made, and that the directing was fucking awesome. It was super badass, and I loved some of the shots in this movie. Emma Tammy, you did a fantastic fucking job. Jesus Christ. I love her style. It's perfect for a Fnaf movie. Like, I swear the whole time I was just thinking, damn, she's a fantastic director. Seriously, this is an extremely well-made movie, and that's all thanks to her vision. So props to her, she did a fucking phenomenal job. Now, not only am I going to watch movies she's made, but I'm going to eagerly wait for her to direct more things. And at the end of the day, none of the negative things I say really matter, because as many problems as this movie has, if you like Five Nights at Freddy's, you're gonna love it. It's just like the Mario movie for me, and I wasn't expecting much, so I had a blast anyways. Super fun movie for the fans, and if you're not a fan, you probably won't enjoy it as much, and that's fine, because it's for us. But to be able to say that there's finally a Five Nights at Freddy's movie is insane, and it's a miracle that this movie was even made, and I think that we should be grateful for that. However, I'd like to propose something. Fnaf fans, listen up. Something I think would be amazing for this series is a way to experience the story like never before, because people know the story, but there's not one specific way to experience it. People know the story by reading online or by watching videos on YouTube, but the story needs to be told properly, and there's nothing out there that's like that. The story needs to be visualized and told like a proper story, and I think that there's a perfect way to tell it. And it's not a movie or a book, but a TV show. And this is something I've been thinking about for a long time, and I think it would be fucking awesome, because the story is too long to be told in a movie. It's too rich and full of detail. This needs to be a show about William Afton, a show where we see the beginning of his journey when he's still a good man with hopes and dreams. Show Afton opening the pizzeria, showcase Afton's early beginnings with Henry, showcase their conflict, showcase Afton's relationships with his family and the eventual downfall of those relationships, showcase Afton's fall from grace, his descent into madness, showcase everything that this story has to offer. The story should be about Afton becoming a monster, showcasing every little detail of his journey into becoming who he is, and end it with the spring lock scene. End it with him dying at the hands of his victims. This is something I've personally always wanted, and if it ever became a reality, I would binge it to no end. I truly think that this would be an awesome idea, and that it would be the definitive way to experience this story, but it'll never happen, and that's okay. But anyways, those were my thoughts on the movie. Thank you so much for watching.